really a pretty bubble tip. I know you guys would agree. Trying to get you a view here. Stupid Tom didn't hit the record button. All right, here we go. All right, guys, I'm back again. All right, today we're gonna do the 10-gallon. I have the Arizona Sunset bubble tip anemones in there. I think I'm up to about 12 now. It's hard to count them because they're so clustered together. So I'm gonna tell you everything about the Arizona Sunset and my Clownfish pair in there. So let's get into it. They look awesome. So it's a great anemone to keep in your 10-gallon. Wouldn't go smaller than 10, but this is it. And I feed a lot. I've spoken about that. I just cleaned the glass off and the Ophelia shrunk down. And I'll show you in a little while what they look like when they're fully expanded. But you can see the old digitata here is retracted, and it's not because of stinging, guys. In my opinion, it's more that they're just rubbing into it constantly so they don't open up. And this is what it looks like over here after I've cleaned the glass. The Ophelia and the anemones have no problem whatsoever together. You can see that they're expanding into each other and they don't retract at all. And I'll show you when they're expanded. The inside of the Sunset is actually green. It's very cool. See the greenish coloration? Goes from a green to an orange to a yellow and then the purple tip. Really nice. My lighting over this is a AI Prime Soul, and it's 60% across the board. I run it close to the tank, which has had no effect on anything. The Ophelia has really liked it, and the bubble tips surely like it. So it's 60% all the way across. There's the front top of another one that's on the glass coming this way. So I'm really happy with this tank, and I don't do anything to it. I feed the fish. I'm feeding a little more now, but every time I feed the fish, I make sure some of the bubble tips get some of the food, so they love to be fed. In my opinion, I wouldn't go once a week. I would feed them as much as you can, and then they multiply. This is early morning, about 8 a.m. before the lights are fully on. You could see how both the Ophelia and the anemones will react to light. It's just not about feeding. When the light is at its full intensity, they really rise up and reach for the light. There's a small one in the back there. I'd have to say my success with these was I didn't rush putting them in the 10-gallon. I put one in probably after a year or more of this 10-gallon. So that's important, guys, when you're thinking about anemone. First point would be to get one from a trusted vendor that you trust. I wouldn't get one shipped. If you can find somebody that has them local, that would be good. And as far as feeding, the more I fed, the more they reproduce. So for a while, when I had the first one, I was feeding it daily. Not a lot, but just daily. And now I've slowed and they're still reproducing. This is kind of cool. It's not completely understood why the anemone collapses like this on itself. I know it does it after feeding, but not always to this degree. So maybe you guys can tell me, you knowledgeable anemone guys. Tell me why it's collapsing in and then it comes back out. It's pretty cool, right? I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the clownfish in the anemones. The anemones were not hosting the clowns for almost 2 years. There are species-specific anemones that will host clownfish, and I didn't bother to do the research with these two clowns. These are mocha clowns. I believe they're Pecula, and I don't know if they are species specific to this particular Arizona Sunset. So the Arizona Sunset is an aquacultured anemone, and I think that's why I'm having the success I'm having. And the clownfish just took their time, and quite honestly, I believe it just happened because they ran out of room to stay away from it. You never know with clownfish and anemones. Sometimes you can get an anemone and the clownfish will go right into it within minutes. Water flow is minimal. As you can see, they're not blowing around a lot. So I would recommend that. You don't need a lot of flow with these. So a power head, if you're keeping these in a small tank, a power head would not be necessary. Your return pump, this pump is a small one. It's 180 gallons per hour, I would say. And when it gets kind of semi-clogged, I'm probably turning this over 15 times per hour. And my little hang on the back, I'm not sure what this is, but this is very minimal. You can see it's just trickling in. So that's not really creating flow. I mentioned that in a short. I just added this to create a little more biological filtration in there. My parameters, I haven't tested these in a while, but I know that because I've reduced my feeding in this tank as well as the 75, that my nitrate and phosphate are probably quite low. Water temperature is between 77, sometimes it'll get up to 79 in here. What I'm finding is the little bit of the lower temperature, when it's around 77, the whole tank seems to do quite a bit better. But the anemones are reacting well to those temperatures. This never really goes above 80. As a matter of fact, the light is heating the tank. I don't have a heater on a lot of the time unless the weather gets really cold at night, but the room that I'm in here is always extra warm because it's an upstairs room. So I may not even need a heater for this tank, even in the winter time. The only thing I add to the tank is kalkwasser in my ATO. So as the water evaporates, my ATO adds more water with kalkwasser in it. And I have videos on that, how you calculate how much kalkwasser you put in there. It's not that critical. You can't overdose kalkwasser because it dissolves out when you put it in your ATO. So it's only going to implement a certain amount. But these clowns are really enjoying the anemone now. This is really, really fun to watch. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the anemones and the Euphyllia. I don't think there's going to be any problem. It's going to be very interesting. You can see down there how close they are, and the Euphyllia is not retracted. They also send out stinger tentacles, as they say. I haven't seen any real long ones, but obviously my digitata, it's getting covered over. I'm going to feed the fish and the anemones now, so you can watch how I do it. That's it. I wanted to point out one more thing, and this is a little disappointing. I may try to remove the leather. As you can see, the Arizona Sunsets have really encroached on the leather. Now, it's not dead, and I don't believe it's dying. You can see that the leather is really attached to the rock, and that's pretty decent size rock. I could go in there and pry it off
and I may try that. But I believe this is still alive. If I remove it and maybe put it in the 75, it would make a comeback. So I may have to do that.